It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z. Garcia.
Hey everybody! Today I'm taking a look at a two-player cooperative game called The Ravens of Thri, Sahashri. This is a strange little game in which the two players are playing a very asymmetrical game. One player is imprisoned in her mind. She has fallen into some sort of deep slumber or something like that. And the other player is her friend who is psychic, and he is going into her memories to try to repair those memories and save her and bring her back. It's a very bizarre theme. Let me give you a look at how the game works, and then I'll tell you what I thought of it. Here we go. In the game, one player is going to be playing as Feth, and one player will be playing as Ren, and you are trying to cooperatively, this player is going to be diving into Ren's dreams, and over 3 rounds, they are going to be trying to put her dreams together, solve sort of a puzzle, and if they are able to do so, they win. They're going to be using these cards to do that. So, at the beginning of each round, and the game is 3 rounds long, we are going to give the Ren player 4 cards, and they look like this. They'll have a number, they'll have a color, 5 colors, numbers 1 through 5, and then they also will have some sections that are shaded, that are faded away, and some that are filled in. And the idea here is that these represent her memories, and they are starting to fade. Pieces of them are being forgotten. So she gets 4 of these hidden from the Feth player. She is going to organize these cards into a column, however she wants to, like so. And then you are ready to begin. The rounds go like this. It'll be the turn of the Feth player first, and they are going to, from the rest of the cards here, flip cards into a line until they wish to stop. So this could be the first card flipped. They are going to flip, let's say that's the second card flipped. They flip again, that's the third card flipped. And let's say they stop there. Now obviously I'm cheating here a little bit, but that's just for the explanation's sake. So this is what they flipped. We also would have started with 1 card already on the table. And now their job is to add at least 1 card to the center of the table, which is called the Atman. And you are building this thing in the middle of the table to help Ren rebuild her dreams. And so you can grab any of these and add them to this structure you are building, matching these sections that are faded with the sections that are faded, and the sections that are full memories with those that are full memories. You have to, though, at least overlay 1 faded piece of a memory with another. So this is fine. So that faded one with this faded one. And even this would be fine. These 2 over these 2, that's okay. But you cannot do this, a full piece of a memory over another full piece of a memory alone. Those 2 should go on top of it, but a piece of the faded memory must be part of that. So they can put in the of these as many as they want into play here. Let's say they do that. You can do again any sort of variation on this that you are happy with. You don't even have to play them all. They could just discard this card. So let's say they do all of this. And then the Ren player is going to take 1 card from these and add it to this top line. And what they are trying to do is complete a series of numbers here, which represent a poem, and these 4 cards represent her heart. And so she is going to need a total of 7 at the top, 7 here in the middle, 7 down here, and then all the way at the bottom, 5. 7, 7, 7, 5, that includes this original card that the other player has not seen, okay? And so they would look at that card, they would then take one of these, let's say this one, add it to here, and let the other player know if this is done. It's not done, so I know that this is not a 5, otherwise the total there would be 7, and we would have moved on to the next one. And then it goes back to the other player, where again, they'll flip over some cards, as many as they want to, add at least 1 to here, and this player repeats that, and so on, progressing down these lines of the poem. A couple of other things. If this player ever adds a card to this line here, like this one, for example, that is the same color, they would reveal this card and therefore let the Feth player know that this original card was red. And that matters in just a little bit because the colors that are showing here in the Atman must be showing here on these cards. So something like, let's say at the end there is no purple here in these 4 cards. This one must be removed before we are able to triumph over this one round, okay? However, this also means that this card you will not be able to earn from this round to the following rounds, and you are going to want to have some of these cards for the final showdown, the 3rd round. The way you earn those is instead of revealing them by playing a card next to them of the same color, you would make a grouping out here of the same color that is equal to 7. So for example, playing this card here and then playing this one here, the total there being 7 in blue. The Ren player would tell you, I've got one right here. You remember, or you tap it, or you do something to it to remember that you've earned that one from this triggered memory, which is what that's called. And at the end of this round, the Ren player will be able to hang on to this card. Otherwise, it would just go away. That's the overall idea here. Besides that, there's a couple of wrinkles. Well, there's actually a lot of wrinkles, but I'll only go over a couple of them. You have these ravens that are going to show up from the deck as the Feth player is flipping over cards, and they are going to attempt to capture cards. They are going to be stealing cards away from the ones that are discarded or the ones that get flipped over, and never added to the Atman. And those cards, every time you get a green card that you would discard, you are going to instead tuck it under that raven. And if at the end of the round that raven is still there, any cards that are under it would just be removed from the game. So you definitely want to take care of that raven. And the way you do that is the same way that you help the Ren player reveal one of their original cards by having a total of 7. So, for example, if I want to get rid of this red raven and everything that it has stolen, I could get to 7 on the table in a connected group like that, taking care of the raven for this round. It'll come back for the next round, but for this round it will not steal anything away from you. So that's one of the things that you are contending with. There's also the concept that if sometimes the players can split this up, so if the Ren player takes this card, for example, now these two are split up and they need to remove a chunk of it, it just gets discarded, or it's given to the ravens if they are in play. The final objective, of course, is, as I said, to get 7 up here, 7 in each line except the last one, and the players cannot communicate in order to achieve this, verbally anyway. And so the idea is for the Feth player to offer a lot of options to Ren, and for Ren, with the one card that they pick, that they keep, the one they play next to the ones they already have in their starting lines here, they're the beginning of the poem, the ones they maybe take and discard, because if you take a card and cannot add it to the current line, you would discard that card to inform Feth of what should be here once this poem is finished. Because again, the colors there need to matter. It must be important nothing is showing that is not over here. Once this is done, we shuffle everything up. The ravens will steal whatever was out here that matches the color. You shuffle again, you shuffle these, you give the Ren player 4 new cards to begin, you play again. Pretty much identically. Once that's done, again, ravens, if there's any of them that have not been shooed away, they will steal cards, and you play yet again a 3rd round. That 3rd round is somewhat different. There's a couple of ways in which it is different. First of all, the Ren player has to complete a line of the poem every single go. And so they cannot slowly build a line. They have to get the whole thing in one shot. then this one, then this one, then this one, game's over. So 4 rounds only for that final, final huzzah. The other thing that's different is any of those cards that they were able to, during the game, set aside, because I made a set of 7, I triggered a dormant memory, and they were able to take a card and keep it until the end of the round. Well, they can now, when they are building one of these lines, they can add that card to it. So besides taking one from here, they can also take one of the ones they earned throughout the game and throw it in here as well, and therefore be able to get to 7 like this in a single shot, okay? So that's how that works. If they are able to complete all of those during the very last round, then they win the game. And again, what's out here has to match, cannot show a color that is not out here. That's the overall concept there. There are a few other things like the Ravens. When you flip them, above them is a safe zone as you are flipping more cards. And so, for example, when you flip, let's say that this is already what the Raven line looks like here, and I'm flipping a new set of cards. If I flip a card and it's another Raven, above the older Ravens, these are safe. This is not going to come into play. Just like if a card came into play above here, and I did not want to add it to the Atman, to that center structure, the Raven would not take it. It's in this safe area above the Ravens. So there's a lot of little other rules like that, but that should give you an idea of how the game operates. Let's go back up top and I'll tell you what I think of it. There are some things I like about this game, and there are many that I don't like. Let me talk about the ones I like first. And unfortunately, most of them are when the game is compared to the original printing of this, which I have right here. This is the first printing of the Ravens of Thri Sahashri, and comparing both of these really makes the new one look spectacular. It's such a good job they did. I love the box that the cards come in. It's this little package here with the sleeve that goes over it. Holds everything in there very nicely. The original cards were okay, and the graphic design was a little iffy. They were the small cards, standard size cards. The new ones are larger, they're clearer. So for example, here's one of the original cards from the first printing. Here is the follow-up printing, and it is just stunning. It's large, very clean design to everything. It's a good looking game, and I appreciate that very much. So thumbs up on the look of the game. Unfortunately, the gameplay itself, while it features a lot of things I like, it's a 2-player game. I like that. It's a cooperative game. I like that. It's an asymmetrical game. Yes. I tend to not really like those things in this game that much. The asymmetrical aspect is okay, but it is hard to grasp. It's an extremely subtle game sometimes. It is a game that's kind of difficult to teach. It's a game that I could often see one person enjoying playing one side but not the other side. Don't really like that in asymmetrical games. That's kind of problematic. It's a game that I think is going to do well with the same couple, with the same 2 people playing a lot, but it's a game that does not translate to new players very well, I think. And so I have a lot of issues. It's a game that tries really hard to utilize its theme, which is very strange, but is painfully abstract. You playing these cards with squares matching colored squares and non-colored squares the game is not thematic, but they try very, very hard to be thematic, to the point that this new version includes these envelopes in there, and they say the first time you win, open this up, the first one here, and it will give you more story. It'll tell you a little short tale, which is very thin. This game does not translate to a cool theme, and makes the game harder, which I don't know about that. And then you do the same thing for the second, the same thing for the third. I like this idea a lot. I'm just not sure that this is what I wanted to be in this envelopes. It's more story, really, in this game. What you're giving me is more story and more difficulty. Okay, maybe I'm just bad at the game. That could be. but the story isn't really there. You know, it's thin. And so I find the whole thing to be mainly frustrating. It's a frustrating game to play. I find myself getting tense playing this game. It's not by any means a relaxing endeavor. And that's kind of what I like in a two-player game. You know, I know that cooperative games are often tense. I get that. But this is one of those games where you cannot talk, cannot communicate. But you also fight with yourself so often. You flip over cards and they don't help you. And you want to make something, but these cards don't line up. And it's so, you know, it's infuriating. And then you also have, and I do think this could have been done better in this printing, all these cards have powers across the bottom. And while they're out there, next to each poem line, they can be triggered. Except they're going to be face up or face down to someone. The writing's pretty small, and so you're going to be fiddling with that sort of often. Grabbing the card, taking a look, throwing it back over there. Something else to take care of that might have been a little bit better. I don't know if iconography and then give me a cheat sheet. Something else. Not really feeling that one. So overall, my main emotion here is frustration. I wanted to like this game more. The first printing, I tried to get into it, and it was both, the game was so esoteric and bizarre, and the translation wasn't great. So I was hoping that this one really would fix it for me. And it doesn't. It's still a weird little strange game, and I like that stuff. But this one is almost bizarre for the sake of being bizarre. You know, it's just hard to get into. The game does almost active job of pushing you out from learning, from teaching, from doing well. So, unfortunately, there are some things here I like, and I would recommend this to some people. If you play with the same partner a lot, then this might be something more up your alley. If you've played every two-player game out there and you are jonesing for something different in that realm, then this might be something for you as well. But if the overview didn't really sing to you, if you don't want games that are kind of hard to get into, then this is not going to be up your alley. So that's it for me. The Ravens of Thri, Sahashri.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.